Today, we explore how this date completely reshaped our world across five powerful dimensions: culture, education, finance, politics, and technology. This day proves that history never rests. Let's dive into the fascinating interconnected events of this date that continue to influence how we live, think, and innovate today. So, without much further ado, let's go.
Welcome to this custom deep dive into the original sources. Usually when you throw a birthday party, you celebrate on the day you were actually born, right? You don't wait around and throw a massive bash on the day your birth certificate was finally filed at the county clerk's office.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to the birth of the United States, we are essentially throwing a massive party for the paperwork.
Right. Which is just wild. So today, your mission and ours is to explore the surprising historical, cultural, and technological evolution of July 4th. We want to see how a solemn declaration birthed this multi-billion-dollar modern spectacle, and also look at the upcoming 250th
Yeah,
anniversary.
let's unpack that birth certificate idea first, because the Second Continental Congress actually voted for independence on July 2nd, 1776.
Wait, the second, not the fourth.
Right, the second is the day the colonies legally separated from Great Britain. But the Declaration of Independence, the actual document explaining that decision, was dated the 4th.
Okay, so we've basically been setting off fireworks on the wrong day for 2.5 centuries. And the way we celebrate it now is just, well, it's intense. Americans spend over $3 billion annually on this day.
Oh yeah, the consumerism is massive.
And looking at the sources, 193 million of that goes strictly to hamburger meat. How do we get from, the freezing winter at Valley Forge to dropping almost $200 million on beef?
It's a huge pivot for sure. I mean, early Americans were dealing with the immense financial costs of a brutal war and this struggling, practically worthless continental currency.
Right, not exactly a time for buying tons of hot dogs.
Exactly. John Adams actually wrote that the day should be solemnized with pomp and devotion. He viewed it as a day of profound reverence for an immense sacrifice. But then, as the Industrial Revolution took hold, America's wealth exploded.
So mass production made leisure and consumer goods cheap and accessible.
Yeah, which slowly turned a day of quiet reflection into, well, a massive consumer festival.
So we traded reflection for competitive hot dog eating. But, even back then, that whole idea of freedom was incredibly complicated. If you're enslaved in the 1850s, this celebration of liberty must have felt like a cruel joke.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources point us directly to Frederick Douglass for that perspective. In 1852, he delivered this incredibly powerful speech titled, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?"
Right, that's a famous one.
Yeah. And he argued the celebration was a national mockery. For enslaved people, the day was just a glaring reminder of the hypocrisies embedded in the nation's fabric. The actual substance of American freedom uh, it was fundamentally incomplete.
Yeah, it's a profound rebuke. And much like the substance of that freedom was still under construction, so were the actual mechanics of the celebration itself. Because I was looking at this timeline, and those iconic fireworks we associate with freedom, they didn't even exist yet.
No, they really didn't. The very first anniversary fireworks in 1777 were essentially just primitive orange and yellow sparks.
Just basic gunpowder, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. The modern spectacle we know required actual chemical innovation. It wasn't until the 1830s that pyrotechnicians figured out that heating specific chemical compounds excites their electrons.
Oh, wow.
Right. And when those electrons cool down and return to their normal state, they release energy as specific wavelengths of light.
So it's literally just chemistry in the sky.
Precisely. Strontium burns red and barium burns green. That scientific leap is what finally gave us the brilliant colored explosions we picture today.
Okay, so this holiday has always been a work in progress, both culturally and chemically, which I guess brings us to 2026, the 250th anniversary, or, as I learned reading these sources, the semi-quincentennial.
Semi-quincentennial, yes, it is quite the linguistic hurdle.
Try saying that after a few 4th of July beers. But looking ahead to 2026, the sources show some wildly different plans. And just as a quick reminder for you listening, we are impartially reporting the source material here without endorsing either political viewpoint. We just want to look at what's being proposed.
Right, exactly. And if you look at the source materials for 2026, you see two completely different visions being pitched for this milestone. It is fascinating to just look at the contrast. First, you have America 250, which is a bipartisan congressional commission.
Okay, and what's their angle?
Their vision leans heavily into civic engagement and grassroots history. So think of things like nationwide communal meals. They're calling it America's potluck.
Okay, so a very local, community-driven vibe.
Yeah. But then you have Freedom 250, which is aligned with Donald Trump and his supporters. Their proposals are much more focused on a grand spectacle.
Like what kind of spectacle?
Well, they're pitching a great American state fair with pavilions from all 50 states. And they're even proposing UFC fights on the White House lawn.
Wait, hang on. Let me piece this together. If one side is pitching local potlucks and the other is pitching UFC fights at the White House, are we even commemorating the same historical event anymore? Or is this just the ultimate example of the holiday being used to build a modern political brand?
That is the exact tension running through all these sources. I mean, the 4th of July has never just been about the past. It's a mirror reflecting the present.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It started with the solemnity of 1776, moved through those deep, necessary societal critiques of the 1850s, and has arrived at today's landscape of billion-dollar consumer spending and, intense political rivalries projecting their own values onto the day.
So where does this leave you? We've gone from Adams's vision of solemn reverence to primitive fireworks, all the way to a $3 billion consumer festival with chemical explosives and serious political maneuvering.
It is a massive evolution.
It really is. And it leaves you with a pretty wild thought to chew on. If we have changed this much in 250 years, how on earth will we celebrate the 300th anniversary? What entirely new values or technologies will those future citizens project onto this holiday? Because, well, one thing is certain. They will probably still be throwing the biggest party of the year for the day the paperwork was filed.
Hi viewers, family and friends. How did you like the content of this video? Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please write in the comments your name and the place you are watching from. Since our viewing family is spread all over the world, it will be nice to know which city and the country you are watching from, so I can say hello to you. Science and technology. Reading and listening to the historical accomplishments on this date of those who have gone before us, I, as a professional engineer with interest in structural engineering, energy-efficient buildings, ICF construction, and as Google Docs expert with interest in spreadsheet-based solutions, draw inspiration to ask of myself the million-dollar question. What would I accomplish today? Think about the Japanese practice of Kaizen. Let me know in the comments. What would you accomplish today? Your subscribing to the channel inspires me to post more such videos. Thanks for your patronage. See you in the next video. Sincerely, Yogi Anand.